Welcome to my tutorial on how to play Sudoku. Let's start with an introduction to the basic grid. This is the basic Sudoku grid. Normally when you see a game it looks something like this, but we're just looking at the grid for right now. Every grid will consist of 9 rows, 9 columns, and 9 boxes. These are very important because these 9 rows, columns, and boxes must all include the numbers 1 through 9. You must have the numbers 1 through 9 in every row, every column, and every box, but you can only have each number appear one time in every row, column, and box. To further illustrate this point, let's look at a completed Sudoku puzzle. Look at the number 1 throughout the puzzle. You'll notice that the number 1 only appears one time in every row. And if you look, you'll also notice that every number only appears once in every row, and it does appear in every row. The same is true for every column. The number 1 appears only one time in every column, but every number appears in that column. And if you look at these boxes, you'll see that the same is true with the boxes. The number 1 and every number appears only one time in every box. So you're probably thinking, okay, how do I relate this to an actual Sudoku game? Well, there are some basic strategies, and let's take a look at one of those strategies now. In this example, we're going to show you how to isolate certain boxes within the grid so you know exactly where to put specific numbers. In this case, we're going to try to isolate where to put the number 6. First of all, in the top row, the number 6 already appears in the first box. Therefore, the number 6 cannot appear again in the rest of that row. Likewise, in the second row, the number 6 cannot appear again in that row. Since the number 6 can only appear one time in each box, then we know that in this box, the number 6 can only appear in the open space left available to it. That's going to show up right here. So you put the number 6 in this spot. Very simple. Now I want to make sure that you understand these strategies, so if at any time you have a question, just go back and review the section we just saw and make sure that you fully understand it. Going back and reviewing will help to reaffirm these strategies. Let's take a look at how we can apply the strategy we just learned to an actual Sudoku puzzle. To make things less complicated, we'll use this same puzzle for the remainder of our tutorial so you have a better understanding. First, we want to start off with identifying a box in which we can place a number. Let's start with this box here. This box has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, but it's missing the numbers 6, 8, and 9. So our first question is, where would we put the number 6, for example? Using our previous example, we can see that the number 6 already occurs in this row. That means we cannot use the number 6 in that row in our highlighted box. We also find the number 6 in this bottom row, which means of course we cannot use the number 6 in that row in our highlighted box. That will leave us with only one space in which we can put the number 6. You can see once you've got an idea of what you're doing just how simple this really is. So let's move forward and let's now try to find where we put the numbers 8 and 9 in our same highlighted box. It's probably fairly obvious to you now that there's an 8 in our top row, so there's no way we can put an 8 in this space here. Naturally, the 8 will go into the only remaining space available. That's going to leave just one space for us to put the number 9. You've now seen how to use one strategy to get 3 different numbers in a particular box. So before we move on to another strategy, let's use that strategy again to find another number in another box. Okay, so using that same strategy, let's look for the number 9. Very clearly, in the top row, we cannot use the number 9 in this particular highlighted box. That's because the number 9 already exists in that row. Likewise, we cannot use the number 9 in the bottom row either. Now let's turn this same strategy vertical. And if you notice, you'll see you already have the number 9 in this column, so you cannot put it in this box. And you have the number 9 in this column, so you cannot put it in this box. Obviously, that leaves us only one box in which the number 9 can appear. That's this box. So now that you have a good handle on the basic strategy number 1, let's try another strategy. Let's try to find some other spaces that we can put some more numbers. In this strategy, we're just going to look at one line. On this particular line, there are 2 open spaces. By looking at the rest of the line, we know that the 2 open spaces need to be the numbers 3 and 4. We can actually see that in this particular box, the number 4 already exists, so we know that that space can't be a 4. Likewise, this column also has the number 4, so again, this space cannot be a number 4, which means that the number 4 has to appear in this space. The remaining space in the line obviously then has to be the number 3. This strategy is a great way of finding numbers for particular lines to help fill in your puzzle. This will come in very handy when you get to a point where you're having trouble finding any numbers at all. Now, everyone has their own way of looking at a puzzle. One of the strategies that I like to use is when I'm trying to find a specific number, there are ways that you can kind of look ahead and see where your number is going to end up. For example, if we look at the top 3 boxes on this grid, you'll see that the number 2 only appears one time. That means we've got to find out where the 2 goes in these other 2 boxes. If you look in these 3 boxes, you can see that the number 2 is in this column. So that means that the number 2 has to go into one of these 2 spaces. That's on the second row down, so you know a 2 has to go into the second row. If a 2 has to go into the second row in this box, and it's already in the third row in this box, then by definition it has to go in the top row on this box. So that's how you play Sudoku, and that's the basic strategy to get you started. I suggest pausing this video at this point, copying this grid down on a piece of paper, and finishing out the puzzle for yourself. When you restart this video, I'll show you the solution and you can check your answers. Good luck and enjoy playing Sudoku!